Everyone come, get your plates, take off your shoes. And I thought, there was only 2 plates left. Then Gopanandini said, you want to take an offering? I said, sure. So 898 plates already gone. Yeah, I'll take that one. That was my kasha. So it only took me 15 years for my first miracle. So that festival started by Madhavendra Puri. Not started, also the time of Krishna that festival was there. So the villagers came, they cooked so many preparations, huge piles of chapati, rice, milk products, vegetables. And they bathed the deity with hundreds of pots of water from Govinda Kund. This is 500, maybe 600 years before. Then Madhavendra Puri with his own hands, he offered all the prasad to Gopal. And then all the villagers took everything. Then last Madhavendra Puri took 1 glass of milk. This is called sadhu. So then the next village heard there was such a huge festival for Gopal. We will also do. So the next day the next village said, we will take care of the festival today. And they would bring all their vegetables, milk products, wheat, everything. They would make an offer. And this year, for 1 year, every day a different village would offer. You could imagine. Then slowly wealthy persons heard, they came, they gave donations. Then they built a temple and people donated so many cows, Gopal became very wealthy. Then one night Gopal appeared in the dream of Madhavendra Puri. Oh Madhav, my body is still burning. Many years I was under the earth. So even though you gave me so many oil massages and water, I'm still burning. So please you bring some sandalwood paste for me. So you know sandalwood tree? Sandalwood paste. So where is sandalwood paste? You have to walk to South India. That time there was no aeroplanes, no trains, no cars, nothing. That means walk. So in the middle of the night, Madhavendra Puri got the order, immediately he stood up and left. Guru Maharaj says, we are serving the deity, why Krishna not speaks with us? Why he does not speak with us? Because Krishna knows we would not follow his instructions, we don't have that love. Guru Maharaj would give the example, imagine in winter time, 1 o'clock in the morning. Then Krishna comes in the dream of Dinabandhu. Dinabandhu, I'm very hungry. Please make me some puri sabji. Then what we would think? Namanya, it's so cold. I would have to get out of my warm bed. I would have to go and take bath, change my cloth, go in the kitchen. Then he thinks it was probably a dream, a nightmare. I won't do it. Because we don't have that love, Krishna does not give us any instruction. He remains quiet. But as soon as Madhavendra Puri was old at that time, more than 80 years old, as soon as he got the order, he stood up and went. He left everything. He initiated some disciples who take care of the worship, and he left for South. So walking, he came to the deity of Gopinath. Anyone seen the deity of Gopinath? Who has seen? You've seen Vasanti? You've never seen. What have you been doing? Beautiful, beautiful deity. Ramuna. That deity is more than 60 million years old. Wow. Gopinath. That deity was made by Lord Ram. Lord Ram's wife, Sita, she is the most chaste woman in the universe. But she was drawing a picture of another man on a rock. And Ram came before, hey, what you're doing? You are drawing the picture of another man? But Ram was smiling. Sita was also smiling. She said, that is not any other man, that is you. I want to see this form of Krishna that you will show at the end of Dwapara Yuga. With flute, peacock feather and pitamba. I want to see that form. Then Ram said, I cannot show you that form. I cannot show you that form because I do not possess the qualities of Krishna, even though I am the same person. Krishna has 4 extra things which are not in any other incarnation. So Ram carved that deity of Gopal himself, Gopinath, and gave to Sita 60 million years ago. So, since then people are worshipping Krishna. You cannot say Krishna only appeared 5,000 years ago. How come people were worshipping more than 60 million years ago? Because all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord are eternal. So when Madhavendra Puri came to that deity of Gopinath, then he was charmed. Then the devotees there offer him a very special type of sweet rice. So Madhavendra Puri had some desire. How they make that, I want to know. If I could taste some, then I could make the same special sweet rice for my Gopal in Vrindavan. But as soon as he thought that, he chastised his mind. Wicked mind, you want to taste the sweet rice of Gopinath before he's eaten it? Oh, wicked mind, I won't give you any sweet rice. Like our Guru's Guru, Gokashodas Babaji Maharaj. One time he had some desire, I want rasgulla, sweet. Then he became angry. Oh, tongue, you want to taste sweet things? So he got some charcoal from the fire, and neem leaf, neem? Very bitter. So charcoal and neem leaves he ground together. Oh, you want to taste good thing? Eat that. So he punished his tongue like that. These are the high class devotees. And I cannot imagine that they'll do anything or think anything except Krishna's service. And we are 23 hours, 55 minutes a day thinking of other things except his seva. So Madhavendra Puri chastised himself. Oh, you wicked mind, you want to enjoy something before Krishna has even eaten. So he left. But Krishna knew he does not want for himself. He wants for my service. Hare Krishna. So night time the pujari offered 12 pots of sweet rice. So normally you offer, the pujari closes the curtain, he waits for Krishna to eat, then he opens, takes it away. But the pujari could not notice, he only took 11 pots away because Krishna had taken 1 pot and kept behind. So night time the pujari was sleeping and the deity came in his dream, Gopinath. Pujari, Uto, wake up, wake up! I have stolen 1 pot of my sweet rice and I have kept for my devotee Madhavendra Puri. So please take to him. So the pujari immediately he woke up, he went and took bath. There's many rules if you want to worship the deity properly. He took bath, fresh cloth, he went there and he found a pot of sweet rice that Krishna had stolen from Madhavendra Puri. Then the pujari was full of ecstasy, he went through the marketplace in the middle of the night. Where is Madhavendra Puri? The sannyasi. His good fortune has no equal in the 3 worlds. Krishna has stolen sweet rice for him. Where is Madhavendra Puri? Then Madhavendra Puri was sleeping in the marketplace. Oh, I am Madhavendra Puri. Then the pujari did dandavats, gave him, bowed to him. Whoever it is owes me 10 bows. And gave that sweet rice to Madhavendra Puri. Can someone answer that? So Madhavendra Puri took the sweet rice in ecstasy. So that time there were no plastic containers or styrofoam. Everything was in clay. So he kept that broken clay pot in his cloth and every day he would eat a little bit of it to remember Krishna's mercy. So that deity got the name Kir Chor Gopinath. Gopinath is still sweet rice. So who can imagine the greatness of Madhavendra Puri? Then Madhavendra Puri became afraid. In the morning everyone will worship me and praise me. I should run away. So he ran to Jagannath Puri. But the name and pure name and fame always runs behind a devotee. He cannot avoid it. We are chasing after name and fame, but it always avoids us. But pure devotee, they don't care for anything, therefore everything chases. Madhavendra Puri, he got the sweet rice. Thinking of sweet rice. He got the sandalwood from the king and he was going to carry it all the way back to Vrindavan. That is like 2,000 miles. But when he got again to Gopinath deity said, me and Gopal, we are the same person. If you put sandalwood paste on me, I will get the sandalwood paste in Vrindavan. So Madhavendra Puri accepted samadhi there. It means, in English we say, what? Left his body, died. But really devotee never dies. Devotee never even leaves their body. What do? Accept Mahasamadhi. Or Nityalila Pravish. They enter the pastimes of Krishna. But we cannot say pure devotee left the body. That is also not correct. Or what to speak of died or anything else. So that deity Madhavan Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw and heard the story there on the way to Jagannath Puri. Then he came to another deity, Shakshi Gopal. Shakshi Gopal, very famous. And that history is wonderful history. From Vidyanagar in South India were two Brahmanas, one elderly Brahmin and one young Brahmin. The young Brahmin was always serving the elderly Brahmin, carrying his baggage, cooking for him, massaging him, whatever was necessary. In this way he served him throughout the holy places. So when they came to Vrindavan, the elder Brahmin said, "You have done so much for me. I cannot repay you, but still I want to try. I want to marry my daughter to you." And the young Brahmin said, "I am not serving you so that I will marry your daughter. I am serving you for the happiness of Krishna, no other reason." Then the Brahmin said, "Really, if you want to make me happy, then please accept my gift." And the young Brahmin said, "Well, I'm not educated. I'm not from a good family. Brahmin, but there's many types of Brahmins also. I'm not so aristocratic family like yours. If I try and marry your daughter, what will happen? There will definitely be problems. Therefore you promise, but you should promise in front of someone, a witness. Even when you sign a legal document, right, there has to be a witness. So who is there? Promise before the deity of Krishna." That deity's name was Gopal. So the elder Brahmin said, "In front of you, Gopal, I am promising in this holy place that I will give my youngest daughter in marriage to this Brahmin. I am promising and you are the witness." So when they came back to their home place, their home village, what happened? When the older Brahmin suggested, "I will marry my daughter to this young man," all the family went berserk. "What? You will marry our daughter, my sister, to this tramp?" Then the wife said, "If you do that, I will drink poison and kill myself." And the other family was like, shh. All excited, the Brahmin could not do anything. After some time, the young Brahmin went to the old man. "You gave your promise. I'm not greedy to marry your daughter. But you gave your promise in front of the Lord in a holy place. If you break your promise, your religious principles you will suffer, you will be degraded. For that reason I am asking." That time, he was in such a position, the family members threatened to kill themselves. So the older Brahmin was forced by the family members to say, "I cannot remember what I said." Then the son of the old Brahmin said, "Yes, this man, he gave drugs. You know Datura?"
Yeah.
How do you know? Horrible drug. Makes you completely mad, I've heard. Giri, thanks for the details. It makes you mad. Horrible thing. This young man must have given Datura to my father, stolen all his wealth, and in some madness my father had to say something. Then all the village were like, "What's going on?" Some villagers said, "Yes, why would this old man give his young daughter to this uneducated person?" Then others were saying, no, it could be true. The whole village was in turmoil. "Is there any proof?" Then the young man said, "Yes, there is proof. He promised before the deity of Gopal in Vrindavan. Krishna is the witness." Then the family of the older Brahmin, who were a little bit atheistic, they said, yes, that's pretty convenient, isn't it? If you're Gopal, your stone deity, if he gives promise, then we will accept. And the young Brahmin, he believed in Krishna. Yes, Krishna must fulfill his promise. So the document was signed. Krishna must give witness. The young Brahmin again walked to Vrindavan. When he got to Vrindavan, he said, "Krishna, now you're in big trouble. Someone who knows the truth and does not speak, he is implicated in that offense. You saw your devotee, the old Brahmin, promised to give his daughter in charity, and you are not saying anything. You must say. Therefore you must come with me back to the village and give witness. Then Krishna spoke. O Brahman, I am a stone. I am a deity, a statue. How can I walk such a long distance? Then the devotee said, if you can walk, if you can talk, what is it?
If you can speak, you can walk.
You can talk.
Oh my God, I'm taking English lessons from Vidura. If you can speak, you can also walk. Therefore you must come. Then Krishna was trapped. Then Krishna said, I will come on 2 conditions. One day, every day you have to feed me 1 kilo of rice. And the second condition, you never look back. Then I will come. If you look back, I will be frozen. Then the Brahmin, very happy. How will I know you're coming? You will hear my ankle bells as I walk behind you. So the young Brahmin, he walked from Vrindavan back to Vidinagar. Vidinagar means, like, now they say Andhra Pradesh. That means like 2,500 miles. He walked. And every day he would hear the sound of Krishna's ankle bells walking behind, and he would offer the 1 kilo of rice. Very happy. Then he came to the outskirts of the village. He thought, why Krishna should walk any further? He turned around, the deity took form there. Then the villagers came and saw really this, and Gopal is very tall deity. Gopal has come from Vrindavan to our village. Yes, it must be true, it must be true. So the villagers built a small temple. Afterwards, the king of Vidinagar heard this history. He built a nice temple for Gopal. And those 2 devotees, the elder Brahmin and the young Brahmin, served him for the rest of their lives. So these 2 deities. And afterwards, how Gopal came from South India to Puri. Do we have time? Have you heard that story? Oh, you have to hear it. It's a wonderful thing. So every year in India, have you heard of, what's your name, madam? Gigi. Have you heard of Ratha Yatra? No. Okay. They say it's the biggest yearly religious festival in the world. How many come every year? Millions. Oh, come on. What are you talking? That's just the people who are crushed to death under the wheels. They say 6 million, I've heard. Millions and millions. It's like an ocean. So every year the king of Jagannath Puri, he sweeps the chariot before he sweeps the road before the chariot of Jagannath, the deity of Krishna. So in India, the lowest job in the world is the sweeper who cleans the streets. So the king from Vidinagar, he came up, he was thinking, I will marry my daughter to this king of Jagannath Puri. But when he saw the king was sweeping the streets like a council worker, and the king of South India thought, this disgusting low-class fellow, I will never marry my daughter to him. And without saying anything, he went back to Vidinagar. Then the king of Jagannath Puri, his name was Gajapati. He became very much insulted, not for himself, for Krishna. What? I am serving Krishna. He thinks that service to Krishna is a low-class activity. Who the hell he thinks he is? This is not a disrespect of me, this is a disrespect of Krishna. So the king was very angry. He collected his army and went down to South India to invade him and give him some. So what happened? When the king of Jagannath Puri got to South India, his whole army was defeated. Let's talk about putting salt on the wound. Then king of Jagannath Puri, he came back. Great devotee, Gajapati. Oh Krishna, you did not support me. For you I went and you did not support me. Then this body is useless. I'll give up this body by fasting to death. So as he was fasting, night time, Krishna came in his dream. And the king said, I went for you, you did not support me, how I could be defeated. Then Krishna said, did you ask? You did not ask if you should go and fight for me, but you are doing independently. That is not service. Service means under the guidance of Krishna, guidance of Guru, what you do, that is called service. Otherwise, independently you may do millions of things, but Krishna not accept it, what's the use? There was one devotee in Vrindavan. So he was, the tombs of the great saints, this is called samadhis. I remember. I won't say his name. But he took a great interest in painting these things. He had no money. He would go begging everywhere. He would collect money. He would buy paint and come back and paint all day and night. I saw in the burning hot sun, middle of summer, he's painting, scraping. Then one day he came to Gurudev, said, "Why you think Rupa Goswami will accept your service directly?" Never. Everything should come through me. Otherwise the Guru Parampara will not accept anything you do. Then the man, he became offended. He went away for 3 years. After 3 years he came back crying and fell at Gurudev's feet. "Yes, you're right." So very deep things. So Krishna said to him, "You never asked me if you should go and fight. You did independently, therefore why I should support? You were defeated." And the king was begging forgiveness. Then Krishna said, "Don't worry, you go and fight again. This time me and Balaram will both be in your army." So when the population heard this time Krishna and Balaram are both going to fight in the army, everyone was trying to sign up. Old women, wheelchairs, cripples, sign me up. Because you cannot be defeated. Krishna himself will be in your army. So the king was very happy, confident. He was riding his war elephant back to South India, but he could not see Krishna or Balaram anywhere. And he was getting worried. Then Krishna and Balaram had gone ahead of the army, on riding one black horse and one white horse. And there was one old woman selling, buttermilk. Lassi, right? Gigi, you know lassi? Okay, lassi. The old woman was selling lassi. Then she saw these two beautiful young men. They said, "Old woman, give us a drink." And they drank so many glasses. She said, "Okay, that's 15 glasses of lassi, $3 each, $45. Then Krishna said, "I have nothing." She could not understand this was Krishna and Balaram. Because you see, Krishna never has pockets, because everything he has he's given to his devotees. So Krishna said, "I have nothing, we cannot pay you, old woman." The woman said, "You must pay me, I am poor, you have to pay." Then the two boys took off their rings and gave to the old woman. "When the king comes, you give him these rings, he will give you something." So when the king, Gajapati, was riding his war elephant, and one old woman was blocking the path. "King, your two soldiers drank all my lassi, you have to pay me." The king said, "I have no advanced soldiers, I am leading the army." No, one black and one white, very attractive brothers." No, there was no one in my army, you are telling false thing, old woman." No, they gave these rings, look. Then the king saw those rings were the deity's rings in Jagannath Puri, the rings of Krishna and Balaram. Then the king began weeping. "You want payment? This whole district is yours, take it." She became a wealthy landowner. So when the king, Gajapati, went to South India, then he really, defeated them. Then he took the deity of Gopal from there back to Vrindavan, back to Jagannath Puri. Also he took the daughter of that king as a prisoner. "Yes, I will marry you to a council worker, a sweeper." You understand? Then that girl was crying because princess from a royal family. Then the king was very determined. Then the minister said, "Don't worry, we'll take care of everything. You just believe in us." So the next year came this festival again. The king was sweeping the road, and that girl came out. Even an ugly girl looks nice on her wedding day. What to speak of a pretty girl? Princess. She was completely decorated head to toe for marriage. Then Gajapati said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I will marry you to a sweeper." Then all the ministers said, "We looked everywhere, Maharaj. We could not find any better sweeper in this whole city than you." "You are definitely the most qualified sweeper in the whole." And that marriage was arranged. Their son was the great devotee Gajapati. Now, Prataparudra, that is their son. Also, we'll hear about him so much. So all these places Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on his way to Jagannath Puri. Therefore, Shraddha Yukthana Iha Sunaye Jan Achire Mile Tar Gopala Charan. One who hears this story with faith definitely achieves the lotus feet of Gopal. No? So Shakshi Gopal Maharaj ki Nomitam Gora Chandram Yaha Kutarka Kakasayam Sarvabhaumam Sarvabhuma Bhakti Bhumanam Macharat. I offer my respectful obeisances millions of times at the lotus feet of Lord Gaurachanda, the Supreme Personality, who converted the hard-hearted Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, who is the reservoir of all bad logic, into a great devotee. So now we'll hear about the liberation of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Wonderful. Just like Srimad Bhagavatam has 5 main Geets, Brahma Geet, Venu Geet, Pranaya Geet, Yugal Geet, right? Gopi Geet. That is 5 main. Just like this body has 5 airs running in it, in the same way, Srimad Bhagavatam has 5 main histories. This Srimad Caitanya-Caritamrta also has 5 main histories. And this is one of them. Gopinath, Haribol, Nayana, okay? Come up here. Come on, Gopinath. Okay? Getting big. Oh, no, sit here. People grow up very fast. Huh? Wow. He's eager. So, there are 5 main philosophical treatises in Caitanya-Caritamrta. You can go back if you want. You're happy there? Go where you're comfortable, no problem. So this liberation of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya is one of the main histories. So we have another 4 days. Today is the 3rd day, right? So 4 more days we have. The liberation of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Sanatana Goswami, the conversation between Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and 5th is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing the Mayavad sannyasis about the glories of the holy name. These 5 main things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, alone he went forward and entered Jagannath Puri. If you come there is one bridge called Ataranala. You know Didamanu, Ataranala? 18 arches. That bridge is still there since hundreds of years. It took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu many hours to cross that bridge because he would stand up and he would see on top of the temple this chakra, the symbol of Lord Jagannath, and he would fall on the ground and offer his respects. Then he would stand up again, he would see it. So many hours it took him to cross that bridge, which is only 20 meters long. Then Aveshe Chalila Prabhu Jagannath Mandire Jagannath Deki Prema Hoile Astire Jagannath Lingete Chailile Dan Mandira Poile Prem Avishtahan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the temple of Jagannath. And the ecstasy of Radharani meeting Krishna after a long time. He never saw the deities of Baladev or Subhadra. He would only see Krishna, the deity of Jagannath, in the form of Sham Sundar, playing the flute with a peacock feather in his head. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mad ecstasy, he ran forward to embrace the deity of Jagannath. This is illegal. No one can just walk up and embrace the deity or touch the deity. So when the Lord went up and fell unconscious on the ground, the security guards went to beat him with sticks. But by the Lord's arrangement, the great personality Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was there. He was the guru of the king of Jagannath Puri. You can imagine how much he was learning. Then when the Lord fell down and the guards went to beat him and drag him out, then Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya stopped them. Why? Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was not a foolish person. He had read in the scriptures about the symptoms of ecstasy in a Mahapurush, in a liberated soul. 8 are there. We talked about this the other day. Tears pouring from the eyes, hair standing on end, God, voice choked, perspiration, stumble, becoming stunned. 8. Changing color, voivanya, vipata, many of them. The body horripulating. 8 symptoms of ecstasy. In this world you will only see 1 or 2, maximum 3 in any one person. Nainam Gadadas, not more than that. But in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had read these things, but never seen. But within Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could see all 8 of these ecstatic symptoms manifesting in a fully blazing condition. And there's also 5 different levels of ecstasy. Oh, I cannot remember. You read Ujjvala Nilamani, all is there. Like Dumit, smoking condition. Like fire is there but not a little bit, and there's lots of smoke. Dumit. Jwalit means little bit blazing. Fire is there, not so much smoke. Then Purna Jalat means completely blazing. Sudipta means absolutely blazing. English failed. 5 levels of ecstasy. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was now seeing all 8 ecstasies at once, present in one person in a fully blazing condition. Before he'd only read, he'd never seen. Therefore, here it says, Prabhu Saundarja ar Premar Vikar Dekhi Sarvabhauma Hoile Vishmit Apar. Seeing the Lord's personal beauty and seeing the transformations of ecstasy, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became completely astonished. Therefore, he stopped the guards from beating. Who is this boy? Who is this sannyasi? He did not know. Therefore, he ordered the guards to take him to my house. So, I remember Pankaj? Last time we spoke, this was the night before Gurudev left. We were there, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, speaking these things. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, not far from the temple of Jagannath Puri. So all the guards, they carried the Lord on their head. Then, like, what's his name? Puridas, the son of Shivananda Sen, Kavi Kanapur. He wrote in his drama, Jagannath Vallabh Natakam, I think, like many ants, ants carry a piece of sugar. Many guards carried the unconscious body of the Lord to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Therefore Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya examined the Lord, his stomach was not moving. Therefore from his cloth he took a piece of thread and put under his nose. Oh, some breath was coming, almost like dead. Therefore Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became full of anxiety. Then he thought, this is symptoms of pure love of Krishna. Therefore, Sudipta Satvik Einame Pralay. This is one ecstatic symptom called Pralay. Some people say death. When a pure devotee dies, that is one ecstatic symptom called Pralay. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had read these things, but he was not a devotee, he never experienced, he had never seen. Therefore he understood such symptoms are only there in perfected souls. So, these uncommon symptoms are appearing in this person. He could understand this is not any madman or any crazy. Therefore, the Lord was unconscious in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for 8 hours. So meanwhile, the other devotees were following the Lord. Nityananda, Jagadananda, Garadha. So they were coming many hours behind the Lord. Because the Lord, when he left them, he walked very fast like a lion. No one could keep up with him. Because he was so much anxious. How will I see Krishna? How will I get Jagannath? So when the other devotees came to the door of the temple, then all the guards began perspiring. Oh my God, it's more Bengalis. These look like in the same group as that other one. So the guard said, please, we'll let you in, but don't cause any disturbance like your master. And the devotees heard how the Lord went in and tried to embrace the deity of Jagannath, but fell unconscious. So Nityananda said, don't worry, we are not crazy like our master. We will be very good behavior. And what happened as soon as Nityananda entered the temple, what did he see? He saw the deities, he became completely mad. He also ran up to embrace them. The guards tried to stop him. They were ready. Bengalis coming through gate 1. Bengalis coming through gate 1. But when the security guards went to check the Lord, what happened? Just by touching Nityananda, they fell many feet backwards. And they became afraid. We are so powerful, we can control even mad elephants. But this Nityananda has such strength. Then they could not check in Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram. He went up to the deities. He embraced Balaram like this. Took the deity of Balaram and put it on his own neck. Why? Because he is Balaram. And the guards thought any ordinary person would do that, they would die. But Nityananda did not die, he is very happy. So all the guards from that day, they so much gave respect to Nityananda Prabhu. Then they asked, where did Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya take the unconscious form of our Lord? And they took him to the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was lying unconscious there. So the devotees very loudly chanted in the ear of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Remember that one, Govina? Don't forget. Your sister chanting every day? Huh? Don't lie, Gopinath, in front of the deities. She's chanting? Okay, good. Gopinath is a very good boy, very simple. So, they chanted very loudly in the ear of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and very loudly roared, Haribol! Yeah. Very loud, like a lion. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya heard the roaring of the Lord and saw him dancing in ecstasy, then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did pranam. And what did he say? Om Namo Narayana. There are some people who believe, I'm God, you're God, everyone's God. So they go, Namaste, I pray to the Supreme Lord inside you. I'm God, you're God, everyone's God, but Krishna's not God. I'm sorry. I think those who believe that, they think everything is the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Om Namo Narayana, I pray to you, you are Lord Narayana. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not that, he is devotee. What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Krishna Matyastu. Thanks, Kiridhar. Krishna Matirastu. May, that is the blessing, may your mind always think of Krishna. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, oh, he's a devotee, a Vaishnava. This is an eternal argument between those who believe that God has no form and the individual soul is the same as the Supreme Soul. What do you think, Gigi? What do you think? Sound good or bad?
No.
Lucky for you. How we can say the individual soul is the same as the Supreme Soul? I have a headache. The Supreme Lord should not get headaches. The Supreme Lord is omniscient. We are not omniscient. The Supreme Lord has complete knowledge. I do not have complete knowledge. The Supreme Lord has no material form. We have material forms. The Supreme Lord never changes bodies. But we are dying every moment. The Supreme Lord is never bewildered by illusion, and the individual soul is always bewildered by illusion. Therefore some people say there's only one soul, me, you, we're all one. That's not true. Otherwise, how come you have a job and I don't? I have a headache, you don't have a headache. He becomes liberated, but I didn't become liberated. So there is not this philosophy as false philosophy. Ekatmabad. That's a big topic. So anyway, this is a wonderful conversation between those who believe that God has no form. Also Sadhguru, that God has all forms. This philosophy in its many various branches, and that is called Mayavad. They think even if there is a God, when he comes to this world, he has a material form. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the guru of this system of thought. Have you heard of Sankaracharya, Gigi? Okay, good. Sankaracharya's main proponent of the philosophy of Sankaracharya. But you understand the philosophy I'm talking about, right, Gigi?
Yes, I follow.
Really? Everyone's God.
That's one way to look at it.
Okay, good. Okay, so you're on the side of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. It's very nice. Because opposing you is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The embodiment of all bliss, all knowledge, and eternality. So good luck, Gigi, because you're going to need it. So hear carefully, Gigi. We're just joking with you. But this is a wonderful philosophical discussion between those who think that everything is the Supreme Lord and those who say, no, everything is not the Supreme Lord. My watch is not the Supreme Lord because it's material. It has a beginning. 200 years ago there were no digital watches. So my digital watch is not eternal, it cannot be the Supreme Lord. Maybe it's the energy of the Supreme Lord, I can say that. But we cannot say it's personally the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has no transformation. Some people think the Supreme Lord has transformed himself into this world, but this is not true. His energies have transformed into this world, but he always remains unchanged. Okay, Gigi, so I'm joking with you, but this is very deep talk. So what discussion they had, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is the spiritual master of this type of thinking, Mayavad philosophy. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he saw the beauty of the Lord, he was very much attracted and charmed. I'll just catch here, no? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya originally was residing in Navadvip. Navadvip is the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So, hearing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also belonged to the same district, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became very happy. Oh, I know your grandfather, Nilamba Chakravarti, we were classmates. Therefore, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are sannyasi. The duty of a sannyasi is to meditate and to study on the Vedanta Sutra. Why you are not doing so? You are a very young man. You have taken lifelong vows of celibacy. How will you maintain if you do not have knowledge? Therefore you should come to me, and every day I will instruct you on the Vedic scriptures, that is called Vedanta. Also, even though you are sannyasi, your sannyasi is a little bit low class. There are 10 branches of Mayavad sannyasi. High class sannyasi means like Saraswati, Tirtha. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas from Keshav Bharati, that is considered like 10th class sannyas. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, you are a young boy, you come to me, I will teach you the Vedanta. Also I will give you reinitiation into sannyas, high class sannyas. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, then Mahaprabhu very, very humble. Mahaprabhu said, Tumi Jagat Guru Sarva Loka Hitakaja Vedanta Parao Sanyase Upakarta Ami Balak Sanyasi Vanda Manda Nahi Jani Tumar Asray Nilun Guru Kori Mani. How much humble is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Not like us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are a spiritual master of the Vedanta philosophy. Gigi, last question, you've heard of Vedanta? No. Okay, Vedanta means, you've heard of Vedas, right?
Yes.
So the conclusion, the Vedas were compiled by Vyasadeva. And his explanation, the essence of all the Vedas is called Vedanta. How many sutras are in Vedanta? 555, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's 550.
550. But very, very short. Sutra means like condensed. Janmari Asayata. Not like this. 2 or 3 words. 550. I will teach you that. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are the spiritual master of the Vedanta. I am just a young boy. I don't know what is good and bad. I accept you as my spiritual master. I will learn everything from you. I have come here just to learn from you. Therefore, please maintain me, please protect me. I take your shelter completely. Today I had a great obstacle in the temple of Jagannath, but you saved me. Therefore, I am very happy to meet you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu puffing him up by his sweet and humble behavior. So Bhattacharya said, please do not go alone to the temple of Jagannath. You should always go with some senior personality. Then the Lord said, I will never again enter the temple of Jagannath completely. I will stand near the Garuda Stamba, and from there I will see the deity of Jagannath. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, you take the Lord, you take this sannyasi to my aunt's apartment, and you arrange for him to stay there. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave all type of service to the Lord. And he was thinking, he is very humble and very meek and very attractive. My affection for him is always growing, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said. And he asked Gopinathacharya which sampradaya he took sannyas from, what is his name. Gopinathacharya said his name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. His spiritual master is the greatly fortunate Keshav Bharati. Sabham Bhattacharya said, yes. Sri Krishna is a good name, but this is a name for brahmachari. Therefore he belongs to the Bharati community, therefore he is like a second-class sannyasi. And Gopinathacharya, he is an eternal associate of the Lord. Then when he heard the Lord is a second-class sannyasi, he became angry. There is no need for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to accept any type of external formality. There is no need for him to accept any superior type of sannyas. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked, but he is a very young boy, how will he maintain his vows of celibacy, sannyas? Therefore I will teach him Vedanta. Then he will remain fixed in knowledge and renunciation. Then Gopinathacharya became angry. You are a fool. Gopinathacharya and Mukunda, who had come with the Lord from Navadvip, when they heard Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thinking, he is a young boy, he has no knowledge, he cannot maintain sannyas, he is second type of sannyasi. Then both devotees, Sarvabhauma, Gopinathacharya and Mukunda Dutt became very angry. Foolish fellow, you are the fool. You don't know? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedas Sarvasya Chaham Vidisanivisto Matasmriti Jnanam Pohanamscha Vedas Chidaham Ahumeva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Krideva Chaham. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am the Paramatma, the indwelling witness, the super soul in the hearts of all living entities. From me comes knowledge, from me comes remembrance, from me comes forgetfulness. If you want knowledge of Krishna, who gives it? Gigi? Krishna gives with it as the Paramatma. If you want to remember Krishna, who gives remembrance? Krishna. And if you want to forget Krishna, Pankaj, who gives forgetfulness? Krishna gives forgetfulness. You want to forget him?
He makes you forget Krishna and makes you remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So, Gopinathacharya said, Krishna says, therefore, I am the source of all knowledge, all remembrance, and all forgetfulness. I am the speaker of the Veda. I am the compiler of the Veda. I am the goal of Veda, and I am the original goal of the Vedanta. So all the Vedic scriptures come from Krishna. And you will teach Krishna about the Vedas? Gopinathacharya said, this is your foolishness. Alas, you are greatly unfortunate. The Supreme Lord has come in your own house, but you cannot understand him. Tahate vikyate yuhu parameswar agistan kichu nahi vigyana gota. Therefore, Gopinathacharya said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is celebrated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But you are such an ignorant fellow, even though he's in your house, you cannot understand him. And the disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya are arguing with Gopinathacharya. What proof you have that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord? Then Gopinathacharya said, if you want to understand the Supreme Lord, what is the process? And they said the process is anuman, logic. People think like that. How do you understand God? By logic. But Gopinathacharya said, that is foolishness. Anuman nahi iswara gyan. One cannot understand the Supreme Lord by logic. Because logic can help in some material ways, but also materially logic is not always perfect. For example, the logic is where there's smoke, there's fire. Is that true? No, it's not. What if someone just threw a bucket of water on the barbecue? Smoke is still there, but there's no fire. So this is anuman. So material logic cannot always give a perfect conclusion. Therefore, Gopinathacharya said, logic and argument, you cannot understand the Supreme Lord. Logic and argument, you can only understand him by sabda and by mercy. If one gets a tiny bit of the mercy of the Lord, then he can understand the Lord. And he quoted Lord Brahma from the Bhagavad Puran. Atapi te deva padambuja dvaya prasada lesangrahita evahi. Lord Brahma said, oh Lord, if one is favored by even a drop of your mercy, he can understand you. But those who speculate at the speed of the mind for millions and millions of lifetimes cannot reach your lotus feet. You want to stop watching the baby? Thank you. Gopinathacharya said, "You are a great scholar and a spiritual master of many disciples. There is no one equal in Vedic scholarship than you. But because you have not even got a one drop of mercy of the Supreme Lord, you cannot understand Him, even though He is directly in your house." This is a fact also. How can you see the sun? Without the sunlight, you cannot see the sun. Without the mercy of the sun, you cannot see the sun. Without the mercy of the Lord, you cannot understand Him. Then Gopinath said, "Tumar nahi dos sastra ekar." This is not your fault. This is the conclusion of all the scriptures. You cannot understand the Supreme Lord by logic or scholarship. You can understand Him only by devotion. Then Gopinathacharya said, then Sarvabhaumacharya said, "What scriptural proof you have that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord?" And Gopinathacharya gave many examples. Especially, he said, what is it? Gopinathacharya said, one minute. Another he quoted, "Itamri trigyad rishideva jazatmatare lokan vibhavasi hangsi jagat pratipan dharmam mahapurush pasi yugana brittam chana kalo yad abhavatas triyoga tasatam." This is the words of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj said, "O Lord, in order to destroy the demons and establish religions, you appear in multifarious incarnations. Sometimes you appear as a man, in a man form, human form, sometimes in the form of animals, like fish incarnation, Matsya and Varaha. Sometimes you appear in the dynasty of the Devas, that is like Vaman Dev. Sometimes you appear as Rishi, like Narayana Rishi. Aquatics, that is me and Avatar, fish incarnation, and so on. However, in the age of Kali Yuga, you appeared in a covered form. Therefore, you are called Triyuga. Isn't it? One name of Vishnu is the Vishnu Sahasranam. One name of Vishnu is called Triyuga, one who only appears in 3 yugas. Then Sarvabhaumacharya, he said, "Oh, he only appears. What I'm saying is therefore proven. The Lord, the Supreme Lord Narayan, never appears in Kali Yuga." Then Gopinathacharya said, "You are a foolish fellow. You don't understand the meaning of Triyuga. Of course, the Supreme Lord appears in every yuga. That is called Yuga Avatar. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Yada yada hi dharmasya. Also, Miduyanti yuge yuge. I appear in every age. Then how the Lord Himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, I appear in every age. And then how you can think He will not appear in Kali Yuga? He appears in Kali Yuga, but in Kali Yuga He appears in a hidden form. Therefore, it's called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Chana Avatar. Chana means concealed incarnation. Why? Because all the other incarnations declared, I am the Supreme Lord. But what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? I am not the Supreme Lord, I am a servant of the Supreme Lord. Therefore he concealed his Bhagavata, his quality of being the Supreme Lord. Therefore he is called concealed incarnation. So as this argument was going on, Sarvabhaumacharya was laughing. And Gopinathacharya gave some other quotes from the Mahabharata. Krishna Vana Matvisa Krishna. Sorry. He gave... Anyway, I don't want to go through the whole thing because it's very long. Therefore he quoted some verses from the Bhagavad Puran. When baby Krishna appeared, then Gargacharya was called to give the baby a name. There's so many samskars when a child is born, before conception, Garbhadan. When the child is born, then cutting the umbilical cord, ears piercing, first grains, forgot that one, shaving head, giving name, baby chooses what he wants to do, many of that, 7. Marriage, death, 10 samskars. So, when the child is born after a certain day, the name is given. Who chose your name, Gopinath? Gurudev, I remember. So in the same way, they call any, like spiritual master, any high class person, they choose name for the baby. So when Gargacharya saw baby Krishna and he meditated, who is this child, and he could understand, this is not any incarnation. This is the source of all incarnations. So Gargacharya, he said, Asavana trayo hiyasya yad anuyuganat tanum sukla raktas tathapita ita krishnanam gataha. Oh Nanda Baba, you are very fortunate. Your son appears in every age. Sometimes he appears in a whitish complexion, sometimes in a reddish complexion. He has now appeared in a blackish complexion, and sometimes he appears in a golden complexion. Who is that? Therefore, who is the incarnation of Krishna who appears in Kali Yuga with a golden complexion? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Iti dvapa uruisha stuvanti jagadishwaram nana tantra vidanena kaloapi tatta srinu. Therefore, in the age of Kali Yuga, people will worship the Supreme Lord. Therefore, please hear his different forms, complexions, and activities. In Bhagavad Purana it said, Krishna Bana Matvisa Krishna Sa Angupangasta Pashadam Yagne Sankitana Praya Yajanti Hisu Medasa. That is 11th canto of Bhagavatam. Krishna Bana Matvisa Krishna. In Kali Yuga he will appear. Krishna will appear, but Krishna Varna means he will always be chanting the syllables, Krishna, Krishna. But Atvisa Krishna, he will not be black. He will be Atvisa Krishna. What's the opposite of black? Gold. Golden complexion. Therefore, Yagneya Sankirtana prayer, that golden incarnation Jiji will be worshipped by the process of congregational chanting of his own names. So in the age of Kali, those who are most intelligent perform the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thus they worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in Kali Yuga in a golden form. He will appear with his personal expansions, such as Nityananda Prabhu, and his eternal devotees, such as Garadhar, Surup Damodar, Srivas Thakur, etc. So Gopinath Acharya giving so much proof from the Vedic scriptures why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is accepted as the Supreme Lord. Then Gopinath Acharya said, there is no need to quote many verses for you, because I am throwing seeds in a barren land. It means you have no devotion, you will not understand. Therefore, when the Lord gives you mercy, then you will understand Him. The Lord cannot be understood by false arguments or word jugglery. He quoted some verses here. Thus, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Gopinath Acharya had a very friendly relationship, because Gopinath Acharya, if I'm not mistaken, was his son-in-law. Still alive, Malini? Hang in there. Thus, when the devotees Mukunda and Gopinath complained to the Lord, he is thinking you are a human being, he is criticizing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no. He is trying to protect my sannyas. I consider him like my father. Whatever he does, don't say anything. Therefore, the next morning, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya offered obeisances to the Lord and began instructing him on Vedanta. For how long? 7 days, 7 nights. Sort of like a Mayavad Bhagavad Saptaha. Like we are doing here, 7 days, 7 nights.
Didn't let him sleep.
Huh?
Didn't let him sleep.
No, they have no interest in sleep. They are interested in higher things. Therefore, in order to instruct Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the meaning of Vedanta, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya began explaining. And one is, he said, it is your duty to hear Vedanta, hearing it without cessation from a superior person. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are very kind to me. Please speak. Thus for 7 continuous days and nights, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu listened to the Vedanta commentary of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not speak anything for 7 days and 7 nights. Why? Because Krishna makes a promise in Gita. I promise to reciprocate according to your surrender to me. So for 7 days and 7 nights, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying the Supreme Lord, He has no form, He has no energies, He has no pastimes, He has no name, He has nothing. So what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do for 7 days and 7 nights? Nothing. He kept His promise to perfectly reciprocate with you according to your surrender. 7 days and 7 nights He was going on and on and on and on, and Mahaprabhu was just hearing. Then on the beginning of the 8th day, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had a few doubts. Are you understanding everything I'm saying? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes. The original verses of the Vedanta are easy to understand, but your explanation is impossible to understand. The original sutras of Vyasa are like the sun, and it seems your explanation is trying to cover the real meaning, like a cloud tries to cover the sun. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya heard that, he became dumbstruck. You are hearing again and again, yet you remain silent? I cannot understand what is in your mind. Then Prabhu kohe sutraat bujhe nimal, tumar vyakya suni man hoi tu vikal. Sutrayat basya kohe prakasya, tumi basya kohe sutra arta chadiya. Mushri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand very clearly the meaning of the original verses, but your explanations are simply disturbing my mind. The meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is very clear like the sun, but your explanations, your convoluted explanations simply cause confusion. You are not directly explaining the meaning of Vedanta. It appears your business is to cover the real meaning. The Vedanta Sutra is the summary of all the Upanishads. Okay, Gigi? Understand? Heard of Upanishads?
I read the Upanishads.
Really? What is the meaning of Upanishad?
Oh, I used to know.
Isha means God, Upanishad. That which brings you near to God is called Upanishad. Therefore, the conclusion of all the Upanishads, that is Vedanta Sutra. Therefore, I'll just read what Mahaprabhu said. Better he instruct you than me. Upanishad sabdaye mukyata hoy. The Vedanta Sutra is a summary of all the Upanishads. Therefore, whatever direct meaning is there in the Upanishads is also given in the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva. Therefore, in every verse there are some primary meanings and some secondary meanings. You should always accept the primary meanings. For example, in Sanskrit they say the village is on the Ganga. What does that mean? The village is floating on the Ganga? No. That is the secondary meaning. The real meaning is obviously the village is on the side of the Ganga. So Mahaprabhu said, you are not taking the direct meaning, you are taking some indirect meaning. You are simply giving imaginative commentary. Therefore, although there are many types of evidence, there are 10 ways by which you make a conclusion. If you read that book, Ujjvala Nilamani, that will be coming out in Kartik. Yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti nicely explains these 10 ways to make a conclusion. Okay, Gigi? There's one we already discussed. Anuman, logic. Another I can't remember. Let's see if I can remember all 10. Anyway, it's not important. Another one is above Praman. That is not perfect. My watch does not exist because I cannot see it. Right? Oh, it's under the book. So above, deducting something by its absence. Pran is not here. Therefore he does not exist. No. He is not in this room, but maybe he's hiding behind someone. So this is called above Praman. That is also not perfect. Another one is Saman Praman, means you're trying to explain to someone what a zebra is. A zebra is like a black and white striped horse. And the person imagines black and white striped horse. But instead of imagining the black and white stripes going down, he's imagining the black and stripes going across. Okay, I know what a zebra is now. Therefore, making a comparison, you make a conclusion. This is also not perfect. That's called Saman Praman. There's many, there's 10. Another one is called Ingit Praman. Where's Dinabandhu? Over there. He's there. No? But that is, understand, where's McDonald's? By that you can get an idea, but it's not a perfect way to make a conclusion also. That's called Ingat Praman. There's many others. There's 9. What are some others? Can you remember? Itihas Praman means, some say the old fort in Delhi, that was where the Pandavas used to live. Who told you? My grandmother told. Who told her? Her grandmother. Who told her? Her grandmother. It's true or not, I don't know, but we heard. It's a history. This is true or not, I don't know, but my grandmother told me. This is one type of evidence, but it's not faultless praman. Not a faultless form of making a conclusion. One is called, what's it called? Included? Anyway, there's many. All of them have some fault, Gigi. But only one form of conclusion is perfect, that is the Vedic scriptures, that is called Sabda Praman. Therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Pramane Madhya Shruti Praman Pradhan Shrutiye Mukyata Koi Se Praman. Although there are many evidences, the evidence of the Vedic scriptures that is taken as foremost. And according to the Vedic scriptures, one should take the primary meaning and give up the secondary meanings. For example, the Vedas say cow dung and the conch shell are pure. But stool is always impure and bone is always impure. But Veda says no, cow dung is pure. You can even use it for the Lord. And bone is always impure, but we use conch shells. Therefore Veda says cow dung is pure, conch shells are pure, we accept. Therefore Swapraman Ved Satyaye Kaha. What the Vedic scriptures say, that is the real evidence. The Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra, the conclusion of the Upanishads, is as radiant as the sun. All the Vedas and the literature which follow the Vedic conclusions, that is also considered Praman. Understand? Therefore, what is the definition of Shastra, scripture? There is one, Mul Veda Purani Upanishad Mul Ramayana Chaivad Iti Shastriam Katam. The Mul Ramayana, Upanishads, Puranas, and that Itihas, Puranic histories, that is considered like Mahabharata, that is considered as Shastra. And any books which follow the same conclusion, that is also what am I talking about? That is also considered as Shastra. Like Jaiva Dharma. Understand? It has the same conclusion as the Vedas, therefore we accept it as Shastra. Caitanya-Caritamrta. It has the same conclusion as the Vedas, therefore it's also considered as bona fide Shastra. So, actually, the Supreme Lord has an eternal form. He is endowed with all potencies and all opulences. But you are trying to explain him as formless and impersonal. Yaya Sruti, many things, Mahaprabhu going very deeply. Time is not there, but maybe 2-3 months you can spend on these instructions to Sarvabhauma. Therefore the absolute truth is understood when the scriptures talk about the word Brahm. The word Brahma indicates the Supreme Personality, who is Sri Krishna. That is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. The confidential meaning of the Vedas is not easily understood by the common man. Therefore, to support that conclusion, the Vyasadeva gave the Puranic histories. There is one verse, Apanipado Javahana Grahita, famous verse. It says the Supreme Lord has no eyes, but He sees everything. He has no hands, but He accepts the offering. He has no feet, but He moves here and there. What does that mean? He has no material eyes, but with spiritual eyes He sees everything. He has no material hands, but with spiritual hands He accepts the offering. He has no material legs, but with spiritual legs He moves behind the cows of Vrindavan. You have described the Supreme Lord to be powerless. But everywhere it's described the potency of the Supreme Lord. Vishnu Shakti Paraprata Chatra Jnana Tatapava Para Avidhi Karma Shati Tritiya Shakti Ukchate. You said the Supreme Lord has no potency. But everywhere it says in the Padma Purana, the Supreme Lord has 3 main potencies. The spiritual potency, Antaranga Shakti. the Jiva Shakti, the marginal potency, and the external energy, Maya, the material energy. But you have said the Supreme Lord has no power, but the scriptures directly contradict your conclusion. Therefore, Ladini Sandini Samvit Trayeka Sarva Samsara Lado Tapa Koro Mishra Trayana Guna Vajata. That supreme potency is also combined of three ingredients: Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini Shakti. Therefore, the Supreme Lord has an eternal form. He is composed of Sachidananda, eternality, knowledge, and bliss. The Supreme Person is Sachidananda Vigraha. That means he originally has three potencies: the pleasure potency, Ladini Shakti, the potency of eternality, Sandini Shakti, and the potency of knowledge, Samvit Shakti. Together these three are called the Chit potency. The living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, when they forget the Lord, they are bound by the illusory energy called Maya. But the Supreme Lord is never bewildered by the illusory potency. He always remains aloof and liberated from it. So, very hard for new people to enter into this thing. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeating all his arguments by the scripture. Mayadish, Mayavash, Ishwar, Jiva, Bhed. There is a difference between the Supreme Soul and the individual soul. What is the difference? The Supreme Lord is the controller of illusion, and the individual soul, Gigi, is controlled by illusion. That is the difference. Therefore, the Lord is the master of all potencies, and the living entity is the servant of those potencies. That is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the individual soul. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living entity is established as an incomplete potency. But you are saying the individual soul and the Supreme Soul are the same. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhumiyapo analvayu kam mano buddhi eva cha ahankara itam me vinna prakriti yastada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego are my 8 separate material potencies. Besides these material energies, there is the living entity, the individual soul. Iswara Parama Krishna, Iswara Sri Vigraha Sachidanandaka, Sri Vigraha Kai Sattva Guna Vika. The individual soul attains a material body made of those 8 things. But the Supreme Lord, he has no material body. Therefore, Ishwar Sri Vigraha Sachidanandaka, the Supreme Lord is made of. He has an eternal spiritual form. And the living entities in this world have a material form made of stool and urine. And you are saying this individual soul and the Supreme Soul are the same? This is your madness. Now comes the good bit. Sevigaha yena mani se tapasandi adrissa aspasa se hoi yamadandi. One who does not accept the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord is definitely an atheist. Such a person should neither be seen nor touched. Birth after birth they are punished by Yamaraj. Hare Krishna. The Buddhists do not accept the Vedic scriptures. They are considered atheists. However, those who take advantage of the Vedic scriptures, but teach that the Supreme Lord has no form, they are worse than the Buddhists. Jivedana study lagi sutra koravas, mayavad basis sunile hoi sarvanas. Vyasadeva compiled the Vedic scriptures for delivering the living entities from illusion. But if one hears the commentary of the Mayavadis, he will lose everything. Parinamvad Vyasutra Saman. Vyasadeva has described everywhere, this world is simply a transformation of the Lord's energies. It is not a transformation of He Himself. And already the Lord described the different energies of the Lord. What are they? Can you remember? Internal energy, the marginal energy, 9, and the material energy. The Supreme Lord is also different from His energies. Therefore the Jiva Shakti has produced the individual souls. Maya Shakti has produced this world. And the Chit Shakti produces the varieties in the spiritual world. The Lord always remains separate and unattached from those energies. Mahaprabhu gave an example. You know King Midas? Everything he touches becomes gold, but King Midas does not become gold. In the same way, the Lord, everything is transformed, but He's like King Midas. He never becomes transformed. Therefore, touchstone after touching iron becomes gold. But the touchstone is never changed. The energies of the Supreme Lord are always moving, but He always remains unchanged. Therefore, one name of Krishna is Adoksaja. Adoksaja means one who never falls from his position. Actually, Adoksaja means axle. Like baby Krishna, when he was 6 days old, one demon entered the cart and tried to crush him, and Krishna kicked him and broke him in half. Therefore, baby Krishna got the name also Adoksaja. Means the axle, it never moves. The wheels and everything else moves, but the axle remains unchanged.
Wow.
Yes.
Have you seen Adoksaja Vishnu in Mayapur? Jagannath Mishra's?
It's there, you see. I have not seen it. It's there. Ask the Pujari, make friends Pujari, he'll show you. So, Sankacharya. This is a little complicated. Anyway, you can hear. Like on Vyasa Puja, we worship Vyasadeva. And Guru Maharaj would always say, the followers of Sankacharya also worship Vyasadeva on the day of Vyasa Puja. But what did they Guru Puja? Sankacharya, he wrote, Vyasadeva made a mistake. Because in the Vedanta Sutra, he wrote, Anandamoyo Vyasa. The Supreme Lord is full of ecstasy. But Sankacharya said, wrong. The Supreme Lord is ecstasy, he is not full of ecstasy. There's a difference. So what is their Vyasa Puja? Therefore, Sankacharya's theory states the absolute truth. The Supreme Lord is transformed. However, by accepting this theory, the impersonalists think that Vyasa has made a mistake. The theory of illusion can only be applied when the living entity identifies himself with the body. The impersonalists, they give the example, a man at night time, he sees a rope on the ground and he mistakes it for a snake. In the same way they give the argument, we are all God, but out of mistake we think we are an individual soul. What do you think, Gigi?
I've heard that before.
I bet you have.
I've seen a real snake. And it wasn't a piece of rope.
Therefore this argument is a fallacious argument, because just because you mistake it as a rope as a snake doesn't make it so. A snake is real, a rope is real. But mistaking a rope for a snake, that is the illusion. But a snake and a rope are not illusion. In the same way, they say, now we are simply dreaming and imagining. We forgot that we are God. Out of illusion we became covered and separated from Him. But when you remove the illusion, then you realize you are the same as Him. And they give these arguments, like a rope, like mistaking a rope for a snake. Now we're mistaking ourselves as individual souls, but we are not really. Another argument they give, also they give the argument of, like mother of, what's it called? Oyster and mother of pearl? Isn't it when they get all the poor oysters and rip them out and eat them? And they throw the oyster shells on the bottom of the ocean. A foolish person may mistake the oyster shell as silver. In the same way, we are mistaking ourselves as individuals, but actually we are not individuals, we are the Supreme Lord. But this is also one type of nonsense, no? These are all material examples. You cannot understand the absolute truth by giving material examples like mother of pearl for silver. Therefore, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, the theory of illusion only applies to the individual soul, not to the Supreme Soul. That is the difference. So, Pranavi Mantravaki Ishwara Murti. Have you heard of Om?
Yes.
Om. Wow, there you go. Now listen carefully what the Supreme Lord says. Om is called Pranav. Pranavye Mahavakya Ishvara Murti. Where are you going? I'm about to tell you about your ring.
This is a restaurant.
Oh, okay. Pranav is Omkar.
She's going to go cry.
No, she won't. Pranav is Omkar. Omkar is 3 syllables. A-U, Ma. A iti akshara Krishna sarva Vaikuntha Nayaka. A means Krishna, the Lord of the Vaikuntha planets. U means Ladini Shakti Radha. And the jiva's relationship with Radha and Krishna, that is Ma. So Om is everything. Pranavye Mahavakya Swaramurti. Therefore Omkar, Pranav is Krishna himself, the form of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? Pranava Sarva Vedashu. In all the Vedas I am Omkar. So Om is Krishna's form. Therefore that is the Mahavakya of the Vedas. That is the main original sound, original source of all the Vedic knowledge. Tattvamasi and other sutras, these are not the main vakyas. Like if you go to any Mayavadi sannyasi, you'll see Tattvamasi, Pragyanam Brahma, Salva Kalvamidam Brahma, Pragyanam Brahma. And Sankaracharya said these are the main statements of the Vedas, but these are not the main statements of the Vedas. Mahaprabhu said Omkar is the main statement of the Veda. Thus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found thousands and thousands of faults with the arguments of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. However, to defend Sankaracharya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is putting up thousands and thousands of arguments. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by logic and by knowledge of the scriptures, cut all the arguments to ashes. Bhagavan Sambandha, Bhakti Abhideya Hoy, Krishna Prem Prayojan Veda Tu Tattva Koi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed, the Vedic teaching should be understood in three levels: Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. Sambandha means Sambandha Bhagavan. Everything is related with Bhagavan. That is the first level of knowledge. Then what will I do with those knowledge? What activities will I perform within that relationship? That is called bhakti, devotion. And what is the goal of devotion? Vasanti? Prem. That is the prayoja. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave all these are our main teachings. If one tries to explain the Vedic literature in another way, it is simply an imagination. Any interpretation of the self-evident Vedic version is simply imaginary. Actually, this is not the fault of Sankaracharya. He was ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord Narayan himself. Mayavadam satshastram pracham bodhayam uchite mayava vihitam devi kalo brahmana murtina. In Padma Puran, Lord Shiva spoke to Devi, "O Devi, in Kali Yuga I will come in the form of a Brahman and I will speak Mayavad philosophy, which is nothing else but Buddhism, and I will invent imaginary scriptures. I will give an imaginary explanation of the Vedas." So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said those two verses, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became completely silent. He could not say anything. They sunis Bhattacharya hoile param vishnit mukhi na vistarvani hoile stambit. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became very astonished. Upon hearing this, he became stunned and could not say anything. Mahaprabhu said, "Do not be astonished. Actually, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the highest perfection of human activity. Even the liberated souls are attracted to his service." Atmanamas chamuneo nigrandipi ukrimi kurvanti hoitikim bhakti itambuto gunohari. Famous verse of the Bhagavad. That verse, I'll read the translation. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by material desires, they become attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna. This is not astonishing because he has such wonderful qualities. Hearing this verse, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, "Please explain that verse to me." First time he's asking something. Only took 7 days, 7 nights. That's the difference between someone like Arjuna and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Arjuna, only the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna speaking. Because Arjuna is just going on and on and on, Krishna just remains silent. I mean, until someone surrenders and inquires, you should not give instruction. That teaching is there. Therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one should not instruct his Bhagavad Gita to someone who is not my devotee and who is not sense-controlled. Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj said that's the only instruction of Krishna the devotees disobey. Because they are more kind than Krishna. Even those who are not qualified, the devotees still try and help that person. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But we can try. No? So, Arjuna only spoke one chapter of Gita, then he remained silent, then he inquired. Then Krishna spoke the next 17 chapters. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took 8 days, then he is inquiring. So Srila Gautamaj said, if someone has no faith in you, don't give them instruction, just be quiet. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked, please explain this verse for me. Then Mahaprabhu said, you should explain it. First let me hear your explanation. After that, if there's anything left, maybe I will say something. Then using logic, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya explained that verse in how many ways? 9 different ways. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled. My dear Bhattacharya, you are just like Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods. No one in this world has the power to explain the scriptures as you do. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the same verse 18 different ways, without even using his explanations. Then he was thinking, if I'm the guru of the demigods, who's this guy? Thus, afterwards, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the same verse 64 different ways. Yes, wow, that's what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said. Then, upon hearing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became completely astonished. Then he understood this person is Krishna himself. Devo iho tu sakshat Krishna munina janiya Mahaparad koinu garvita hoye. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is certainly Krishna himself. I could not understand who he was, therefore I have made unlimited offences to his lotus feet. Thus Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya denounced himself as an offender and surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him mercy. He showed him his form as Lord Vishnu. Then he showed him a 4-handed form of Lord Narayan. And then he appeared in his original 2-handed form with a blackish complexion and flute to his lips. Thus, by the mercy of the Lord, all devotional truths were revealed in the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya could then understand the importance of chanting the holy name and distributing love of God everywhere. Thus Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya made up 100 verses within his mind, and there and then he glorified the Lord. That is called, can you remember? Sarvabhauma Satakam. 100 verses of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Then, hearing the verses, Mahaprabhu embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who became full of ecstatic love for Krishna. Asur stamba pulak swed kampap tarahari nache gaye kande pore Prabhu padadari. Out of ecstatic love of God, Sarvabhauma shed tears. His body was stunned. He shook, he perspired, he trembled, he danced, he wept, he chanted and cried, and fell at the Lord's feet, touching them again and again and again. Thus Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was dancing like a madman. Gopinath Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all were laughing. No? Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Guru of the King of Jagannath Puri, the spiritual master of the whole of the Mayavad Sampradaya, such a great scholar, now he is dancing like a madman. Therefore all the devotees are very happy. Gopinath Acharya said, "Oh Mahaprabhu, you are to blame for all of this." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "No, you are to blame. Why? You are a devotee. Because of your association, Lord Jagannath has given mercy to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya." Thus, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he became steady. He said, "You have delivered the whole world. This was not very difficult. But you have delivered me. This is certainly a miracle. I have become dull-headed due to reading too many books on logic. Consequently, my heart became like an iron bar. Nonetheless, you have melted me. Therefore, you are very powerful." Thus, hearing the prayers of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Mahaprabhu returned. And the early next morning, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya with some Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tied that cloth in a knot, tied the Mahaprasad within his cloth in a knot, and went to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya before sunrise. The time he saw Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya rise from bed, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Immediately he chanted the holy name. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave Mahaprasad to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So a Brahmin, without taking bath, brushing teeth, tilak and Gayatri, a devotee will never eat anything. But the Supreme Lord is giving Mahaprasad with his own hands. What will you do? Sarvabhauma immediately took and ate. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. That's alright, everyone doesn't have to go out. Just take Haridasva. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, now my life is successful. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has finally developed faith in the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. From that moment on, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became like one of the most intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was delivered from that dark pit of Mayavad philosophy. Afterwards, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can't concentrate. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I spent my life eating oil cake. You know oil cake? When you press the oil out of seed, what's left is called oil cake. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I spent my life eating that, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has filled my heart with nectar. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wrote 2 main verses. They are very famous. Can you remember? Vairagya Vidya Nikbhakti Yoga Shikshatamekam Purusham Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Siriradari Kripam Buriyastamaham Prapadye. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has come to teach us real knowledge. His devotional service and detachment from that which is not connected with Krishna's service. He has descended to this world because he is an ocean of mercy. Let me surrender myself to his lotus feet. So, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Some days later, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya came and did pranam to the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he quoted one verse from the Bhagavatam with some adjustment. Tatenu kampam sushumikshamano bhujaniratma kripam vipada vidvag vapupe vigadam namaste je jivate yo bhakti pad sa dayabhak. Hare Krishna. That is a verse spoken by Lord Brahma, and very important verse. As Guru Maharaj used to say, anyone who considers myself themselves to be my disciple must know this verse. Citenu Kampam. We have a tendency, we're always blaming everyone else for our problems. We're blaming the environment, we're blaming the government, we blame our wife, we blame Dima Bandhu, we blame everyone. But fault is no one else, fault is our fault. Citenu Kampam. So Lord Brahma said, okay, Tulsi, you can get a t-shirt.
We have people.
Dina Bandhu Jagatpate.
Potato.
One who simply tolerates the sufferings of this world, understanding Citenu Kampam, this is the mercy of Krishna, is the result of my own activities. Therefore don't blame anyone else. You have a certain cup of suffering, Tulsi, you're going to drink anyway, whether you're with him or not. You'll have to drink it. Therefore better stay in devotional service and drink that whatever is coming your way. You cannot avoid anything. Better just tolerate. So one who tolerates all the suffering in this world, but with body, mind and words does bhajan, that person is eligible for bhakti. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya changed the last word. The original word is that person becomes eligible for liberation, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he could not even tolerate to hear the word liberation. So he changed the verse in the Bhagavatam. Anything that happens is a result of our own activities. No one else to blame. Therefore one who simply accepts it. Therefore Bhagavatam is a great thing. It says just accept responsibility. You are responsible for your own condition. Therefore Vaishnavas, we never waste our time trying to adjust the environment. Just adjust yourself. If you're okay, this world is okay. This world is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without His direct intervention. How can you fight against that, Tulsi? You cannot. Therefore, just tolerate. A person who tolerates in body, mind and words worships Krishna, that person is eligible for devotion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have changed the word of the verse. Instead of saying mukti pad, you will put bhakti pad. Isn't it? You are instead of saying you are eligible for liberation, you have changed, you are eligible for devotion. Then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, there are 5 types of liberation. Salokya Sasti Surupeka Salok Sasti Samipya Surupekata Piyuta Dhyamana Magrinanam Bina Matsevanam Jana. 5 types of liberation. Salokya Sasti Samipya Surup Ekatya Piyuta. Salokya means achieving the same planet as Lord Narayana. Salokya. Sarupya, achieving the same form. Sastya, achieving the same opulence as the Lord. Samipya means being near the Lord. And Sayuja, 5th. There are 5 types of liberation. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sastya and Sayuja. But the impersonalists, Krishna Vigraha say Satya Nahimani. The impersonalists do not accept the form of Krishna as eternal. Therefore, the impersonalists who do not accept the transcendental form of Krishna and the demons who are always engaged in blaspheming and fighting with him both get the same destination. That means merging with Brahman, merging with the Lord. But that never happens to someone who engages in Krishna's service. Therefore, why waste so much money and time doing yoga classes and pranayama and meditation and vipassana and what have you? Just hate Krishna and you'll get the same result. Merging with Him. There are devotees who never accept the liberation of merging with Krishna even if it's offered. Now Gigi's gone, there's no one to pick on. Because if you merge with Krishna, you cannot experience Him, you cannot taste Him, you cannot love Him, you cannot serve Him. Even if Sayuja Mukti is offered, devotees never accept. Therefore, the awakening of pure love of Krishna, which is the result of devotional service, far surpasses liberation from material bondage. For those averse to devotional service, they are punished by offering the liberation of merging in the Brahman effulgence. If there is a chance to serve the Supreme Lord, a devotee may accept 4 types of liberation, but a devotee never accepts the 5th type of liberation, which is merging with him. A pure devotee never even likes to hear of Sayuja Mukti, merging with the Lord. Instead, the devotee, when he hears of this, he feels fear and hatred. Indeed, the pure devotee would rather go to hell than merge in the effulgence of the Lord. Prabhupada Saraswati has said, actually merging with the Lord is hell, worse than hell. At least in hell you exist. You have a chance. Isn't it? Once you're rectified again, you'll get a chance. But one who merges, no chance. Finished. Therefore Raghunath Goswami says, Mukti Katha Nasrinaviti Vyagananayana. We should not even hear talks of liberation or mukti. It's like a mouth of a tigress. If someone goes in the mouth of a tigress, do they come out again? What about tiger stool? Just joking. One who goes in the mouth of a tiger never comes out. In the same way, devotee never likes to hear that. Thus, there are 2 kinds of Sayuja Mukti. Got it. I always say this, but no one ever believed me. And I found the verse. Brahman Iswara Sayuj Duti Praka, Brahman Sayuja Hoiti Iswara Sayuja Dika. Srila Gogamaj always said it. Now I finally found where it is. There are 2 types of Sayuja Mukti. One is merging in the effulgence of the Lord, the other is merging in the body of the Lord. Merging into the Lord's body is even more abominable than merging into His effulgence. You know Patanjali Yoga? Have you heard of Patanjali Yoga? That is their goal. To merge in the body of Paramatma. Therefore they are considered the most unfortunate. Because they accept the body of the Lord, but then they want to merge inside it. So no one is considered more unfortunate than them. You know Ramdev in India? Very famous. He is teaching that everywhere. So, because if you merge in the body of Krishna, your potency to be an individual is destroyed completely. The soul is not destroyed, but the potency to be a soul is destroyed. Example, if you take a seed and you fry it. Seed is still there, but the potency to sprout is destroyed. Therefore, devotees, we never like to hear the word mukti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the word muktipad has another meaning. Muktipad directly refers to the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All types of liberation exist under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Therefore he is known as Muktipad. In fact, Madhvacharya has written, Vishnu Pada Angri, Vishnu Angri Labda Iti Mukti. Mukti, the definition of Mukti is achieving the feet of Vishnu. Therefore Mukti is the 9th subject of the Bhagavatam. But what is Mukti really? Mukti hibannitam rupam swarupena vyastate. Mukti means to achieve your eternal form, and the eternal form of the soul will serve God eternally. That is called liberation. Therefore, how astonishing is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, Kaivalya Nanak Tridas Purakash Pushpayante Durudandindiyam Kalasam Dangshritayate Puna Vishwasukayate Brahma Indra Vitik Trankskutayate Shri Gaura Chandra Swayam Stuma Kataksha Swayasta. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur has said. What is the result of someone who just gets the glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Not even the full mercy, just the glance. What happens to him? Kaivalya Narakayate. The idea of merging with the Lord is like hell. Naraka means hell. Tridas Purakash Pushpayante. The idea of going to heavenly planets is like a pie in the sky, an imagination. The senses, which are very powerful, like snakes, poisonous snakes. But someone engaged in the service of the Lord, they're like snakes with the teeth pulled out. Isn't it? If a cobra came and you knew it had no teeth, you would pick it up and play with it. So the devotee who is engaged in the service, the senses which are very powerful like poisonous snakes that can bite any time. But if a devotee, he is not afraid of their mind and senses because they've had their teeth pulled out. Purna Vishwa Sukhati, the whole world is full of bliss. Big demigods like Brahma and Indra are like insects. That is the result of someone who just gets the glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So hearing this explanation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed. And with great happiness he embraced Chaitanya, he embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Mahaprabhu said, "E Bhattacharya pore mayavade, tara cheva kespure Chaitanya prasade." Indeed, that very person who spent his whole life shouting, "Mukti, Mukti, Mukti, Mukti," now he hates to even hear the word Mukti. This is possible only by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Upon seeing transcendental Vaishnavism present in the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, everyone could understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was none other than Krishna, because no one else could do something like that. Therefore Sarvabhauma Guru Maharaj would say, one time we were in Jagannath, in Fiji, and we were doing programs in the house of the Punjas. 10, 15 people come. Then one day I said, "Gurudev, I think we're wasting our time." Because we went to the villages, there would be 600 or 700 people would come every night. And Guru Maharaj said, "No, our preaching is not like that." Guru Maharaj said, "We get the fat sheep." The leader, the leader, the fat sheep always leads, and all the other guys follow behind. So Guru Maharaj said, "We get the fat sheep, and automatically if you get him, you get everyone else." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was the first person he converted when he came to Jagannath Puri, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is he? The Guru of the King of Jagannath Puri. And you get the Guru, automatically get the disciples. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, within the first day of his arrival, actually not the first day, because they had to spend 8 days listening to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but he captured everyone. Thus, after this incident, all the inhabitants of Jagannath Puri, headed by Kasi Mishra, came to accept the shelter of the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, "E Mahaprabhu Lila Sarvabhauma Milan, Iha se Shada Kore Kore Shravan, Gyan Karma Pasa Hoite Hoye Vimochan Achade Milay Tha Chaitanya Charan." If one who hears this pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meeting with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, if he hears with faith, what will happen? Very soon he will be free from the net of mental speculation and fruitive activity, jnana and karma. And he will definitely achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Rupa Raghunath Padayaras Caitanya-Caritamrta Kohe Krishna Das, praying in the feet of Rupa and Raghunath Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj recites this Caitanya-Caritamrta. Sri Sachinandan Gaura Hari. So, very deep philosophy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Okay, Mohini? Start to study, start to read. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.